The Newsagents USA.
I want to start, in essence, with your first chapter of the book, which is you digging out an interview you did with Donald Trump, 35 years ago, thereabouts?
Yes. The Carl Bernstein, my Watergate reporting partner, really kind of ran into Trump and said, this guy's interesting. We've got to talk to him.
What struck me reading it, although he was talking about real estate deals and how he wanted to be a real estate mogul, what came over was a personality that is pretty much unchanged.
Yes, exactly. It's the origin of Trumpism. And even in that interview, 35 years ago, totally involved in real estate, no politics yet. And he kind of lays on the table his ambition and says at one point, well, his real act hasn't been caught yet, kind of trumpeting that, hey, look, I'm gonna be an important player, or I want to be an important player.
And what the act, it feels to me, that comes over, and what we've seen since, is here is someone who doesn't spend nights before a deal reading up, going over the numbers, going through the fine print. He is someone who acts on instinct and trusts his instinct to get it right. And even if he's wrong, still doubles down.
Yes, he really believes instinct is what you have to work from. And he cites examples, again, from New York real estate, where he'll be in a lawsuit and he has to give a deposition. And the lawyers ask, well, you planned all this. You worked it all out in advance. And Trump says, no, I decided at the moment. And of course, deciding at the moment is the core of Trump.
In all the years that you have been reporting on him, and, from 2016 when he is in the White House and you are there in the West Wing getting unbelievable detail, have you come to admire him, like him, respect him, trust him? I'm just interested in what your own feelings are.
The conclusion is he's a danger to the country. When I talked to him that last year he was president in 2020, this is the year of the coronavirus. And in 9 hours of interviews and other interviews I did, his handling of the coronavirus is despicable. He was warned. He was told that this is going to be a major issue in the United States, and he kept brushing it off. When I talk, he'd say, oh, don't worry, it's going to go away. It's going to go away. Well, it didn't go away. In the summer of that year, while he's in the White House, the arrangement with him, which was unusual, I could call him anytime. He could call me anytime. And so I was really plugged into what was going on and doing other reporting. And his handling of the coronavirus is, one of the things I extract from this and say this, he does not understand the presidency and the responsibilities. I think he doesn't really understand democracy.
So something else that fascinates me about Trump keeping on talking to you, endless interviews, you are known the worldwide as a fearless, independent, unbiddable reporter. Why does Donald Trump keep coming back for more when he knows it's probably going to get him into trouble?
Well, he likes to talk, and this is something that is a characteristic he has, which he's irresponsible. And my job is to let him have his say. And he did have his say. But fascinating, in the summer of 2020, now this is the virus has exploded, not just in the United States, but in the world. July 20th, 2020, we're talking, in fact, turned out to be the last interview I did with him. And I asked him, let's see, 140,000 people have died of the virus in the United States. What's your plan? And for months I'd been asking, you can look at all the tapes, they're all public. And what's your plan? What's your plan? And he wouldn't talk to, for instance, I said, Dr. Fauci, who's the chief infectious disease official in the United States government and the expert, have you sat down with him? And Trump says, well, this is a busy White House. I don't have time for that. That's like the president saying, gee, I'm not going to talk to the general who's involved in running a war. And that's exactly what it was like. And it was so irresponsible.
And then when he slags you off afterwards as being fake news and unreliable and whatever else, you just shrug your shoulders?
Well, I mean, the tapes are public. People have listened to them and look. So for Trump, and starting point of understanding him is what's real doesn't matter. What's in his head or what he's concocted. 2 points about him are central now as he's running for president again. Doesn't plan. He has no plan. He will say things that come into his mind at the moment, and he really has no inner circle of people who will kind of say, well, let's have this meeting, let's do this, let's plan. He doesn't plan. That's the danger. I quote General Milley, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, saying, telling me that Trump is the most dangerous person, that he is a fascist to the core. That's the person who worked with him, the top military person.
Well, let me quote you something else. You quote Mark Esper, who was the last defense secretary to Donald Trump. He says, we seem to be on the verge of crossing a dark line. What would happen, I wondered, if we were all gone? In other words, he's speculating what happens in the White House if there were none of us who were acting as a brake on Donald Trump's impulses. If he wins a second term, the so-called grown-ups, the Mark Milleys, the Mark Espers, the John Kellys, the H.R. McMasters, Jim Mattis, you can go on. They won't be anywhere near, will they?
Well, he won't allow it. Trump won't allow it. And all of these people are public, saying they're not supporting him, that he is a danger. He's a danger because he just spontaneously picks up ideas.
So you think that he will be more of a danger than he was in the first term because there will be no break. There will be nobody to pull the emergency cord.
You know what Trump wants? Trump wants total loyalty. He doesn't want advice. He doesn't want somebody. I mean, that's this absence of inner circle around him that will kind of weigh and vet decisions. There are a few people, but they come and go. And this is the danger of one person rule. And that's Trump. The U.S. government is too complex, has too much of an impact in so many areas. You can't just say, well, I'm going to pull this off the shelf and make this the policy. It's a danger for everyone in this country. It's a danger for other countries because he applies the same theory of all self to international relations.
I wanted to talk as well some other aspects of the book, because this isn't just about Trump. This is about what happened in America the past 2 or 3 years. And you call the book War, and the wars that were going on, yes, with Ukraine, yes, in the Middle East, but also within politics in the US. And you talk about Joe Biden and his reluctance to leave the race. You also talk about this overriding sense of guilt that Joe Biden has about his son Hunter, and the unwelcome publicity and focus there has been on a troubled man at a difficult time, and made worse by his father being president. But it's interesting, that's not what pulled him out of the race. It was the inevitability after the CNN debate. I just wonder whether you thought, I read the passage and I found it very kind of powerful. And you thought, well, why didn't Biden get out and not fight a second term for the sake of his son?
Yes, I mean, it is the biggest emotional event for Biden. And he says it to close associates, and he even said, and laments, said Hunter wouldn't be in the spotlight the way he is if Joe Biden, wasn't president. And I think there's a certain truth to that.
But what do you think it was that kept him in so long? And, you know, it wasn't instantly after the CNN debate. It was a while after the disastrous CNN debate before he decides, I'm out.
I have a scene in the book that really was, I think, pivotal in Biden's decision. So that debate is June 27th. A week later, Tony Blinken, closest aide to Biden, they have lunch. What Blinken says, asks the question, do you want to, because at this point, Biden's running, do you really want to do this for 4 more years? What do you want your legacy to be? And makes it very, very clear. I mean, it's such a pivotal, emotional, political moment. Blinken says to him, you know, asks about legacy, and then frankly says, if you stay in the race and run and win, fine. If you stay in the race and lose, that's the one sentence you're going to get. Here's his closest advisor saying that sentence is going to be, you failed.
I want to circle back before we end this conversation to you and Watergate and the seismic events that unfolded in your country as a result of yours and Carl Bernstein's investigation, which we all know about. We've since had, in the past year, a Supreme Court ruling about presidential immunity, which effectively says that if the president thinks he is acting in the national interest when he is doing what he is doing, there is a degree of immunity. So would Watergate be a scandal today if it happened now, given that Supreme Court ruling?
And who knows? They do have this power. And as we know, Trump appointed 3 of those justices who are in this majority. So, hang on to your hat. Who knows what's coming from the Supreme Court? Who knows what's coming from Trump? Who knows what's coming from American politics in the next couple of weeks?
Do you have confidence in the great experiment of American democracy when arguably what we saw in 2020, 2021 was not the durability of the US Constitution, but its brittleness? And there's a British constitutional historian who has this good chap theory of government, which sounds very British, but which is essentially you rely on people to do the right thing, But if people do the wrong thing, things can go awry very quickly.
Well, yes, that's absolutely true. And we are in this moment right now. And, it's George Washington, the first president, who warned quite openly, democracy is fragile. People, it turns out, like Nixon and Trump, will have power and have tremendous impact on the country, and we see that.
So you are a little bit fearful?
You have to worry about it. Will the wisdom of the ages descend on our political leaders? Not necessarily. I think there's no guarantee of that. And look at who Trump is. He has no plan. He will just come up with things. And there's really no one in his inner circle who can give him the kind of advice that a man like Donald Trump needs. Trump sails on his own.
Bob Woodward, so good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
The Newsagents USA.